Today, I want to talk about the structure of the police. But before we begin, it is important to note that not everyone who works in policing is actually a police officer. In fact, agencies really are comprised of what we call sworn and non-sworn personnel. So, sworn personnel are those that actually carry the badge and the gun. They've completed the Post Academy, which is the Peace Officer Standards and Training Academy, and are commissioned officers who are granted arrest powers by the state. Non-sworn personnel, or basically those who don't have arrest powers, are referred to as civilians. And civilians working in policing serve in various departments ranging from dispatch to crime scene investigation to crime analysis, working in records, even serving as the legal counsel for police departments, or even doing research for police departments. So data for policing in the United States is kind of limited, but the best evidence available suggests that there are about 18,000 police departments in the United States, and that includes federal law enforcement and special jurisdictions like airport security, fish and game, college campuses. And most of the police departments in the United States are municipal agencies and sheriff's departments, so really agencies at the local level. Federal law enforcement accounts for the smallest percentage of all police agencies in the United States. Out of the 18,000 police departments, the typical police department is actually small. In fact, 40% of police departments in the United States employ fewer than 9 full-time sworn police officers. Now, super large agencies such as like the NYPD, LAPD, these are agencies that have like 500 or more sworn police officers. And these agencies are, even though they are more represented in the media in terms of like pop culture and crime dramas, true crime, things like that, these agencies really only make up about 1% of all police departments. So the takeaway from this is that most police departments in the United States are going to be small, with, really around like 75% employing about 25 officers or fewer. Delving in deeper, we can see that the structure of policing can really be broken down into local, state, and federal law enforcement agencies. Starting at the local level, local law enforcement can be broken down into sheriff's departments and municipal or local agencies. So municipal agencies have jurisdiction over incorporated areas like cities, towns, and villages, whereas sheriff's departments have jurisdictions over the county, which generally involves more rural areas with fewer people. And there are many more municipal agencies than sheriff's departments. So for every one sheriff's department, there are generally about 4 local police departments. Municipal agencies are the 24-hour, 7-day-a-week agencies that are responding to all types of calls for service. These are agencies like in Colorado, the Greeley Police Department, the Denver Police Department, Fort Collins Police Department, Colorado Springs Police Department, all of which the sworn officers perform arrests, maintain order within the community, and provide services within their jurisdiction. Whereas sheriff's departments are unique in that they are pretty much responsible for all aspects of the criminal legal system, from policing to courts and even corrections. So sheriff's departments are, somewhat similar to local police departments in that they are also responsible for responding to violations of criminal statutes, as well as violations of county ordinances. And so similar to police departments, sheriffs still have officers working patrol and conducting criminal investigations. However, municipalities often contract with the county for jail services, and thus sheriff's departments are often responsible for housing people who have been arrested for crimes and are awaiting trial or have been sentenced to serve time in jail. And as such, because they house people who have been arrested for crimes, sheriff's departments also have court-related functions like providing court security and transporting offenders to and from court. Sheriff's departments will also engage in some civil processes, such as serving protection orders, eviction notices, summonses, which direct people who are accused of crime to appear in court, or subpoenas, which directs like individuals in court to present evidence, like witnesses. Now, every state, with the exception of Hawaii, has what we refer to as a state-level police department. So the roles and the missions of state law enforcement agencies really are defined by state law, and they are going to vary by state. But For the most part, state police departments are mainly known for highway patrol, but also have other services such as overseeing the lottery, alcohol and beverage control, sex offender registry, and then they also have investigative resources that smaller agencies can request to come in and assist in those investigations. Sometimes the state level police departments will also investigate deaths within incarcerated population, so deaths that occur either in jails or state-level prisons. Most commonly, though, state police departments are known for their highway patrol, whereas in other states, highway patrol is a state-level police department, but it is not the state-level police department. So, for example, in Colorado, we have the Colorado Bureau of Investigations, CBI, and then we also have the state patrol, which is the highway patrol. And so really whereas in like Idaho, they have the Idaho State Patrol, which is part of the Idaho State Police. Whereas in Hawaii, purely because of the structure, the geography of Hawaii, they're really the only state that doesn't have a specific department for highway patrol. Finally, we have federal law enforcement. Federal law enforcement agencies deal specifically with violations of federal laws, and they are split into two overarching divisions: the Department of Justice and the Department of Homeland Security. The Department of Justice is the chief federal law enforcement department, and it's headed by the Attorney General, which is the president's top law enforcement officer and attorney. And agencies under the DOJ include the typical alphabet soup of policing, such as the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the FBI, the Drug Enforcement Administration, DEA, the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, and the U.S. Marshals. Conversely, you have the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, which was created after the terrorist attacks on 9/11. And the purpose of this the purpose of the Department of Homeland Security is to protect the United States from terrorist attacks and pretty much all threats against the nation. And they also help prepare for and respond to hazards and disasters. And so agencies within the Department of Homeland Security can involve the Transportation Security Administration, or TSA, what we see in U.S. airports. Also, U.S. Customs and Borders. They make sure people aren't smuggling weird animals, humans, or drugs across the border. And then Immigration and Custom Enforcements, who deal with undocumented individuals who violate certain types of